afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My next talk for the day is the role of stubble retention on Diplodia erot of maize. Just to give you an idea, the disease triangle is necessary for any diseases to occur. It's an interaction of three factors: the host plant, and in this case it'll be maize, the pathogen, which in this case is going to be Maize, and the correct environment conditions. To give you an idea, the host plant maize and this pathogen can actually cause two separate diseases depending on where they infect on the maize plant. You'll get a Diplodia stem rot and you get a Diplodia erot. And the only difference between the two is the environment conditions. With Diplodia stalk rot, you need stress conditions, low rainfall, and with Diplodia erot, then you need early droughts and later rains in the season while the maize is developing after flowering. So the concern to the industry is yield losses. Firstly, direct yield loss due to reduced yield, grain quality losses caused by downgrading of maize consignments delivered to the silos, and mycotoxins such as Diplodia toxin, diplonin, and other suspected toxins. Some have been found, some are in the process of being found, but they're suspected to be more than just the two Diplodia toxins. And they cause a risk to food security and safety. And at this stage, there's no legal limits for Diplodia toxins. Diplodia erot background, it's primarily caused by fungus, Maize, or it used to be originally called Diplodia maize. Ear and stalk rot of maize, they're separate diseases, but they're caused by the same organism. Diplodia erot is a major threat to maize production in South Africa. And in the mid-1980s, it was a great epidemic that we had for 2 seasons in South Africa. And since then, it's been followed by sporadic outbreaks depending on the season and localized weather conditions. The major limitation to the adoption of CA practices in the mid-80s in South Africa was a result of the effect of Diplodia erots on maize production. Now, Diplodia erot is a disease generally related to favorable growing seasons with late rains. It's unpredictable due to the climate by inoculum interaction. Initial symptoms result in the drying and death of ears and the ear leaf sheath. White mycelial growth is found on the maize cob, and broken ears. If you break the ear in the middle, you'll see at the kernel bases on the cob, it'll have black pycnidia which form there. As I said, it's normally late season rains that cause it, but very late infections are what we call scallum diplodia. It is not visually rotten, but it is infecting. It's infected the grain, but it's very difficult to see. Now, to give you an idea, here's a couple of photos of Diplodia erot symptoms. The one top left is on the plant still. Then right is on a dried down plant. You can see how rotten that ear is. That will result in direct yield loss because it'll go into the combine and just be blown straight out back onto the land. That grain will not be harvested. And then you can see the different stages of the ear rots down the bottom left. There's the healthy cobs with infected cobs next to it. The present problems identified in South Africa, epidemics since the mid-80s, primarily reduced to localized seasonal outbreaks nowadays. The last couple of years, we've got reports of pretty serious outbreaks, but on very localized conditions and localized weather conditions. And the levels of infection varied from 0% right up to 80%. The primary reasons for the serious outbreaks we're seeing nowadays is the increased move to CA systems, where maize is produced under monoculture using new generation susceptible hybrids on no-till lands. The toxicity aspect, what is well known is the effect of the toxins of cattle, sheep, and poultry, which are very susceptible. We got no idea what the effect of the toxins on people will be. Diplodiosis is the disease name. Cattle appear to be lame, wide-legged stance, and then fall over and die. They can take up to 5 days before they die. Sheep, it results in abortions. Lame lambs, they can't stand up. Typical diplodiosis symptoms in adult sheep are as a result of these symptoms. Poultry, it affects growth and egg production. So it's both the meat market and the egg production market that it affects. Toxicity is originally unique to Southern Africa. We were thought to have the only people that have diplodiosis in the world. However, recently isolates from the USA and Argentina have developed symptoms under experimental conditions on animals. The ARC research on toxin and effect on animals is ongoing, and it's in combination with Onderstepoort Research Institute. The isolate or locality variation in toxin is unknown. We know that there are variations because we've observed it in terms of the growth on the plant, how it infects, and also some badly infected maize has been fed to animals with no effect. However, in other cases where it's not very badly infected and we've had animals dying from it. So there's a big variation. We don't know, is it in the climate or is it the isolate variation? The epidemiology, it's a monocyclic disease, which means it overwinters on debris and it goes through one cycle, infects the maize ears or the stalks, and the following season, the next cycle starts. It is not like a leaf disease that can produce spores within the same year and continue infecting the same plants. Maize is the only recorded crop host. Stalk and ear rot symptoms and it grows readily on senescing maize plant material. Overwinters on maize residue, as I mentioned just now, on the surface stubble. Pycnidia develop in the spring, and the initial rains result in a release of primary infection of these spores. So spores are released over a period of time until the Pycnidia do not produce any more spores. Here's typical, the primary source of inoculum. You can see old stubble in the picture on the top left-hand corner on maize stalks. And then below that, you can see that's piece of stalk with pycnidia on it, and the little white dots at the bottom appear to be a microparasite on the pycnidia. We have tried to isolate it with limited success. And then one can see the top right-hand corner is the maize stubble with the pycnidia on, and those long wiry things coming out are known as the cirrus. It's all the spores. You can see in the photo bottom right-hand side is a pycnidia with spores coming out out of the pycnidium. Now, these spores are released into the air, and they infect the maize plant behind the leaf sheaths or the steel of the maize ear. It may infect and remain dormant until the plant starts drying down, and then it can start ramifying up into the stalk or into the steel cob ear under favorable conditions. Symptoms of stalk or ear rot develop are common at this stage. The references of research done at the Grain Crops Institute, one can see here. You're welcome to contact me if you're interested, and I can give you, send you these references. The results that have been discussed from these publications is primarily maize stubble is the only recorded host of Stenocopella maedus. There is a grass and Arundinaria species that people have said is susceptible to it, but otherwise there's no other known host. The artificially infected maize stubble is placed on halfway in and under the soil, showed greater pycnidia numbers, better spore production, and better spore germination percentage than stubble buried under the ground. The buried stubble had a far quicker deterioration of the maize stubble than that above ground, and thus reduces the lifespan of the fungus and the pycnidia, and they break down and are destroyed. The over 6 localities and seasons, no tillage trials consistently had greater ear rots caused by Stenocopella maedus than ploughed plots. Over 3 localities in the incidence of Diplodia ear rots was related to the amount of stubble on the soil surface. It was a direct relationship, a linear relationship between these two factors. Then, in a later study, this relationship between the surface stubble and Diplodia ear rot percentage was confirmed to be a linear relationship. A study on alternating ploughing over 3 seasons onto 5 different tillage treatments indicated that ploughing only significantly reduced Diplodia ear rots for the season immediately after the plough treatment, and then it went back to the original primary inoculum levels. Crop rotations significantly reduced Diplodia ear rots when compared to monoculture maize. Wheat, soybeans, and groundnuts were the better alternating crops than sunflower. Sunflower was a very poor crop to rotate with maize. Wheat, soybean, and groundnuts were the better alternating crops than sunflowers. Sorry, I've just repeated myself. Again, the significant linear relationship between the surface stubble mass and Diplodia ear rots was confirmed. So this has been confirmed in 3 studies, 3 separate published studies. Diplodia ear rot control options: stubble management, which reduces initial inoculum or primary inoculum as it's known. You plough in infected stubble, it reduces extreme epidemics. When you do have extreme epidemics, burning stubble may be considered, although it's not a good option. And rotation of ploughing systems could be efficient in certain cases, and crop rotations, particularly with legumes, remembering that sunflowers are a questionable rotation crop. Thank you for your attention, and there's my contact details if anybody would like more information.